Welcome to another Lockdown Live. How you doing, Jen? I think she's muted still.
Hey.
There you are.
Welcome back, guys.
Welcome. So glad to be back. We are here for another edition of Lockdown Live. So guys, get comfortable. Jen, would you like to tell us a little bit about Multispective and Lockdown Live?
Yes. Okay, so for those of you who have not tuned in before, Multispective is all about building perspective. So if you haven't listened to our podcast episodes, definitely tune in. No story is one-sided, no two journeys are the same, and people's lives are never as they seem. And so on our episodes, we interview different people to share their life stories and experiences. Lockdown Live is a project that was birthed during the 2022 lockdown, where we gather stories from inside Shanghai in the lockdown, and we provide a very humane look into the lives of the people living in Shanghai.
All right, yeah, that is Multispective, and that is Lockdown Live in a nutshell. Guys, today we have a wonderful guest today. Jane is here to talk about her experiences within a quarantine center. So make sure you ask your questions in the chat. They will be randomly selected, and we'll make time for it at the end during the Q&A session. And guys, if you are joining us for the first time, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. YouTube, we are Multispective Podcasts. On Apple, we are Multispective.org. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. You can also visit us on our website, www.multispective.org. Check us out. Check out the podcast. We love what we do.
Yeah,
so it is a passion project.
Really
so
is.
The story. Welcome to another story of the week. So Disney Pixar's Up was released 13 years ago today, just about the same time this whole Shanghai lockdown started. If I can't catch a plane somewhere for vacation this summer, I am seriously pulling a Carl, gathering some balloons so I can float my way to Sanya. But life is seemingly making its way back into Shanghai. A new video making its rounds is the Away from Home series by Shanghai. The departure episode showcases the stress of people trying to leave Shanghai so they can make it back to their hometown. Here is a small clip.
不能进站，就是虹桥不能隔夜了，然后就只能就是这样，然后明天早上的时候再去进站。
你看到这个路上的人在变多，你心里会有一种高兴的感觉，就是这个城市它起死回生了一样。
More public transportation is opening up around the city, and some people are now able to leave their compounds during specific time windows. These are all good signs that show our city is beginning to resurrect itself. And then you have this. Anfulu, you are drunk. Go home. Moving on. Our main story tonight concerns the quarantine centers. It puts a whole new twist on camping. Catching COVID is the least of people's worries, but going to the center is the nightmare. The lights are on 24/7, shared bathrooms that aren't the cleanest. Teacher Mike, a content creator from YouTube, was recently taken to a quarantine center with his family. In the next clip, he talks about the testing process.
Not super excited to be here, not super motivated to make videos. They don't allow you to see your test results here. So if they don't call you to test, that means you had 2 negatives in a row. So we do our first test tomorrow. First time they test you is 单采. They just test your throat. And then if you test negative, then you do the 双采, which is they test your throat and your nose. And if you pass that, then you can go home. So
the living conditions in these quarantine centers sounds less than ideal, and I do hope none of you will have to experience it. My question for you is, if you were taken to a quarantine center, how would you keep a positive mindset?
That's a good question.
Yeah, so Jenica, hypothetically speaking, if they took you to a quarantine center, how do you think you would keep a positive mindset?
Probably carry some booze with me. No, but I think definitely would try to make some friends there. I feel like it can be quite an isolating experience. No pun intended, but yeah. Try to make some friends there, try to get some support, as much support as possible. Look, I understand that everyone is sort of on the same boat. Everyone is going through the same thing. And so I think being in unity, giving each other support is like really important. And I feel like, I think after being isolated at home alone for some time, it really will like help to have like people around. So I definitely try to use that. Bring books, do some yoga meditation, like maybe even start a little yoga or meditation kind of thing where we do it like every morning and I gather some people or try to just make some fun out of the situation. But then again, like I haven't been there, so I don't know very well what it really is like and how much do they allow for these kind of things. What about you?
Just like from watching the videos, it just seems so bleak at times. It just seems so rough there. To be honest, if I went there, I'd probably lose it. But I mean, for me, just like you, I think because, I've been isolated for so long, it'll be nice to just have people around me, people I can have a conversation with, like a physical conversation with another person would be great. But yeah, like you, I guess, develop a routine. Maybe some exercises and continue to work on projects just to keep my mind busy and mentally sane.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't been there personally, but from what I've seen, it just seems rough.
Yeah. And like it kind of also makes you think about like, when you're in the rush having to pack for quarantine, you're probably going to take all the basic necessities. Like, would it even occur to you at that point to think like entertainment, things to keep me busy, things to keep me going, like, or you're just going to be thinking about packing the bait like towels and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Guys, I'd love to see some of your answers to this as well. Like if you were taken to quarantine center and, even if not in quarantine center, like how do you keep a positive mindset during this? Because a lot of you guys I see over here are in Shanghai and going through this as well. So it'd be interesting to hear what you guys have to say too.
Yeah, share your answers in the chat. Maybe our producer will post some up if you find some good ones. Yeah, guys, again, we do have a guest coming in today, and she has firsthand experience. So make sure you ask questions about her experiences during this time at this quarantine camp.
Yeah, exactly. And let's move on to the next segment and get ready to introduce our next guest.
Sure.
All right. So here we have today with us, let me just do a little quick introduction. We have a very special guest to share her first-hand experiences living in central quarantine facility. Her name is Jane Polubotko. Hi, welcome, Jane. Shanghai-based Ukrainian who works in the marketing field. And yeah, as far as we know, your story has been featured on many, many different platforms like Reuters and UnHerd. So it is such an honor having you here with us today. I mean, really, a warm welcome to you.
Welcome.
Thank you guys very much for inviting me. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
We're very blessed to have you here. So Jane, why don't you tell us a little bit about your life here in Shanghai? How long have you been here for?
I actually been here quite a while. I guess for a typical Shanghai, Shanghai foreigner, it might be quite some time. It's gonna be 9 years in September, and I came here like very long time ago as a student. I did my Chinese course, language course, master degree, and I just decided to stay and get some work opportunities. So yeah, I was just like, as Jenica said, I'm still working in a Chinese music tech company, and this is where my COVID story basically began. Unfortunately, yeah, I actually got positive at work. We have also quite a few people. Some of my colleagues also were positive, and actually with one of them, we end up being in the same quarantine center, which was good in a way.
Nice, yeah. Did it help that you said that you studied Chinese. Did it help that you were able to speak Chinese in the whole process?
This is a very good question, and I don't think that if I have like a definite answer for that, because I basically chose to speak Chinese and communicate freely with the Chinese people, but then later during my experience, I kind of learned, and a lot of people told me that would be way better if I did not speak Chinese. If I was probably the only foreigner in my quarantine center. I know there was one more girl, another foreign girl within my quarantine center, but she was transferred from it like pretty much during one of the first days since we've been of our stay there. And I heard that she does not speak really Chinese. I don't know, maybe these are rumors. But people who were in the quarantine center with me, all the Chinese people, they were like, you should not speak Chinese. But at that point, I already like talked to Chinese to everyone. Like everybody knew that I speak Chinese. So maybe that would be like my suggestion probably to people. Hopefully no one will go there, no one will need my recommendations, but probably it's better maybe just kind of hide the fact that you speak Chinese and be like, hey, I don't understand. I don't know. I'm like, who are you? Like that.
So before we get into the story,
go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Because we were getting into it. But yeah, before we get into the story, let's show a video that that you had actually put together when you were there. Yeah.
These are water dispensers. This is where we get our hot water and drinking water. And now we're gonna walk into the bathroom area. It's not. It's for both, for men. There's no separation. This is where people usually do laundry, where girls wash their hair, where people wash their faces. So this is basically my room looks like. 138 is my number, and if you walk inside a little bit, you can see that we have those little plastic containers where we can keep our belongings. And this is my bed, and this is what I do most of the time to kind of keep myself out of stress, just to cross stitching. And you can see there's a little French nice cafe coming out here, and this is the room of my roommate.
That's intense.
Yeah. So you briefly touched upon your experience leading up to the quarantine center. Can you walk us through your experience before going to the quarantine center? What happened?
So for me, everything started on March 26th. I woke up, it was Saturday, and I just felt a bit of a headache. So I was like, this is like not really good sign. And as a good person, I went to the hospital to figure out, if I have COVID or not, because at that point I was aware that it's going on in Shanghai. And I went to a hospital, and the hospital was closed in the sense that no services were available in the hospital. You could not get any treatment, whatever. The only thing you could do is do a COVID test, which I did. And next day, March 27th, so a Sunday, basically the hospital called me and said that my test results are abnormal. And then from that point of time, so many different organizations and structures called me and interviewed me. There was a really long interview asking me where did I go the past 4 days, who did I meet. They even asked me to provide the screenshots of Alipay and WeChat Pay, like the payment, Chinese digital system payment screenshots, to show where I've been, like if I've been to any physical locations like restaurants or shops, so they can, disinfect or identify who are my close contacts. And then, so yeah, they were like asking me these questions. Then there were like two other organizations. They were just asking me, basic information, my age, where I'm from, blah, 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 blah. And it's just so interesting because they were asking the same questions, just like different organizations calling me, asking the same questions. It feels like they just don't communicate between each other. And the interesting point again is that they did not, like, none of them could tell me what is going to be the next step, what's going on, what I should be expecting. And so the next day they came, like they picked me up, the CDC or whatever, the ambulance came and took me to the quarantine center. I think it's also important to mention that I have a boyfriend, we live together, and he got his symptoms, I think, the same day, but like later. Like I started having symptoms in the morning, he started having symptoms closer like to the night, and he did not do the COVID test together with me. That's very fun. So for some reason, they said, you go, and for him, they were like, you will go later, you just stay for now. And it basically, he stayed home, and then on my 12th day on the quarantine center, actually my boyfriend was picked up. So yeah, for me it was kind of like quite close, quite straightforward. They just took me, put in the ambulance, brought me to one point where they changed, like they put me in another bus, a quite big bus with 30 people inside, and brought me to Shanghai Expo Center. In the bus, they actually had lists of people that, like, they actually called out people and say, like, you go down here. And then they double checked again if we have any symptoms or not. Because on the day, which was Monday already, 28th of March, when they picked me up, I did not have any symptoms. I was like completely normal, absolutely physically healthy. So I think that all the people who were in my quarantine center, they did not have any symptoms, or maybe they had like very mild symptoms like coughing or sneezing, but I haven't seen anyone who has fever. So yeah, there we got inside. I think maybe I was kind of lucky because I was one of the first ones, and I did not know what to expect. So I was not like so scared or horrified, like seeing the videos. I think if I've seen all of those videos online before going there, I would be like definitely very, very scared. But in this case, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that because it's China, it's definitely not going to be easy and quick. Like just seeing how they treated COVID before and what did they do for the Olympics, like 3 weeks quarantine for all of the sportsmen who were coming for the Olympics. So that was kind of my mindset, that I just have to like take it easy, not expecting to get out in 1 or 2 days. And just taking it easy and see how things are going.
So you went on the 29th of March, just before the official lockdown.
Yeah, before lockdown, yeah. And that is a good thing because we also have a cat, and we were super worried about what's gonna happen to a cat. And luckily, because there was still no lockdown, our friend Olena, she managed to come to our compound the gates of our compound. And so when I was leaving to go to the ambulance, I brought my cat stuff with me because she was not allowed to enter the compound. We were not allowed to leave the compound. So that basically that was short period of time when I was getting on the ambulance. I dropped my cat stuff. My friend picked it up, and this is how our cat was saved. And she's still there. My cat is still with my friend.
Aw. That must have been heartbreaking being separated from your partner. And you said that they collected him 12 days after you were in quarantine?
Correct.
Was he able to?
Yeah. I was going to ask, was he able to meet you at your quarantine center? Were you guys able?
No, he was sent to a different one. I mean, there is no logic in like whatever is happening in the situation, whatever they're doing. But yeah, he was sent into a different quarantine center. Like he actually also has a quite crazy story of, you know, how he was picked up. Like, gonna introduce it briefly. Yeah, he was like picked up 12 days after, you know, after me, and we were sure that he's gonna be negative at that point. But yeah, they still put him in, and it took them, I don't know, like 10 hours to circle around the quarantine center. This first brought him to one place, then to another place, third place. Then in the end, they brought him home. But the community committee and, you know, all of our neighbors, all of the people within our compound, they were super against him getting inside. So my boyfriend was basically in front of the gate in the middle of the night, not able to go in, not able to go out because, you know, Shanghai on the lockdown. What do you do? Where do you go? It was crazy situation. I think his consulate helped him to figure this out, and at some point, you know, an ambulance came and brought him to like one of the quarantine centers, not too far away from our home, and he spent there 7 days.
Yeah, I think he did make a video as well about it from the beginning to the end, and it did kind of go pretty well, didn't it? Yeah, it sounds like a really hectic experience. So it seems like everyone kind of has quite different experiences. Like for some, it can be quite just smooth. You get called, you pack, you go. And for others, it's just like haywire. And I wonder, like, does your boyfriend speak Chinese?
He does. He does, but his strategy was actually not to speak Chinese. So he was not speaking Chinese with the people in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, what about the actual quarantine center? Like, what was the experience like there for you? You said that it was not as bad as you had maybe expected. So, what was like your day-to-day routine like?
I mean, it was definitely what was not the, like in the beginning, it felt like it's all right, you know, I can manage. There's you know, I mean, I have a bed. Yeah, the bathrooms were maybe the worst part of this whole experience, but yeah, I still have like something. And my mantra, things that I was really like trying to convince myself and just telling myself that I'm Ukrainian and there is war right now in my country, and people are going through way worse experience than I am right now. So I was like, this is not so bad. I can stand it. I can go through, you know, yeah, China's got a center, whatever. I'm gonna get through that. And that actually, I think that really helped me the first 10 days. But I think we're gonna get to the mental health part later, so I'm not gonna gonna answer your question. The quarantine center. So it's Shanghai Expo Center. So it's, you know, the huge hall, just one room, one space, which is normally used for trade exhibitions. At that point, it was a place for 4,000 beds and 4,000 people who were in there. We're like, as you may have seen in the video, we had like short walls, like to kind of, I don't know, show that we have some privacy there, but that was no privacy, of course. And those short walls, they were kind of shaping up a room. So I technically had a roommate, and I was super lucky with her. She's a super nice woman, and we're like in touch and very helping each other. So yeah, 4,000 people. So you can always hear like this, a little bit of noise, you know, always like some buzz. and the noise would start like from 5 a.m. in the morning, sometimes even at night, just because there's no other way to not to hear sounds. For some reason, in all the quarantine centers, they keep the lights on. I really don't understand what's the reason behind, what's the logic for that. And yeah, there's like lights 24/7. I think that was like one of the most difficult things to get used to. And on my second week there, they actually gave us out the eye cover or eye mask. I'm not sure what's the specific name. But yeah, like, basically going to bed and knowing that there is light outside, waking up, seeing that there is a light, was sometimes very like kind of difficult to understand what time of the day was it. Like, luckily we had windows, so yeah, you could see some daylight. But I think that that's also influencing your nervous system, not in the best way. The food was all right. The food was not too bad. And also, again, each quarantine center has a different catering company. So mine was okay. Veggies, always warm food, which I really appreciate. Meat, tofu, rice, of course. There was no specific routine, so that was absolutely up to you. The only mandatory thing that we had there was the tests, but they were also not every day. There were no fixed schedule of when is it happening. So when it happens, it happens. I was actually trying to stick to a routine a little bit. Not sure if I managed to and if I did it really well, but yeah, routine is something that kind of keeps you sane. Those little traditions, those little rituals. Like I was waking up and making myself a warm tea, and like listening to news about Ukraine. Just watching some uplifting news, definitely like more of the good sides, like trying to also keep my mood good. First week I was also trying to read books, and I managed to finish one book. But like then going forward, just your like mental health is going worse and worse and worse. I did cross stitching as I mentioned in the video, and this is something that really helped me a lot because I was just like not focusing on that. I spent a lot of time on my phone, which I'm really not proud and not happy about. I've noticed that the more time you kind of spend on the phone, of course, the more it influences you, especially going forward. Definitely every day talking to my family, to my friends, to my boyfriend, that was also quite helping. And some social interaction. I perfected my Chinese so much. Like my Chinese has never been as good as after the Fantang. And I'm still not at the point where I can argue like the proper Chinese people, like throwing arguments and bad words. I still cannot do that, but that's like a next skill that you definitely need to survive in China and in Fantang.
So when you first got to the quarantine center, how were you feeling like mentally when you realized that they were going to send you to a center? How were you feeling, and how did that change throughout your whole time staying at a quarantine center?
Well, the moment that I realized that they're picking me up, I was trying to stay calm, but inside I was definitely I was very scared. Like I remember this moment then when I was on the bus when they were driving me, like bringing us somewhere. I was like, yeah, it was maybe first time in my life where I did not know what is going on. And it's not like I've done something like that I should be punished. Actually, not really. And that was like the most scariest part, that you really do not know where you're going, what's happening next. Because I didn't even know that Fantang means this COVID center in Chinese. I did not even know this word. And then they told me that we're going to Fantang Yuan. I heard Yuan, which means hospital. So I was like, okay, they bring me to the hospital, which is probably fine. It's good. They're going to give me treatment. Everything will be all right. But when I actually got there and I saw the whole thing, I was like, okay, so this is the place.
Mm.
You at that point knew how long you would be there for, or had have any idea?
No, I did not know nothing, like nothing. You know, how at that point we didn't even know how many tests we needed to be released because it was like the very, very beginning of this whole thing. And I ended up staying there 19 days, which is like
Wow.
really a lot. It's out of normal. Like other Fantang, other people, other quarantine center, I think no people did not stay so long. So yeah, just like my case is super unlucky, kind of the worst.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because I mean, also then comes like the issue with the like what to pack, how much to pack, for how many days to pack. Like, not like maybe you might have taken one book thinking I'll be there for a week, but then realizing like I don't have enough to keep me like going, and still not knowing how long you're going to be there for. So, what would you recommend to, now that you've been there, to people, is to like what to pack when they go? What are some essentials? What are some non-essential things that people should take?
I would say, imagine that you are gonna be on a very long and uncomfortable train ride. What would you like? What would you take? Because it's quite, you know, every person is different and different hobbies, whatever. So just think about what would make you comfortable, what would make you mentally comfortable to go through the train ride. Definitely a lot of fresh t-shirts, underwear, clothes. Think about weather during this, you know, weather when it kind of changes from very cold one to very hot one. So it's really important to have the long sleeves, you know, maybe even hat, but then also have short sleeves and flip flops and those kind of things. Then sanitary products, because there was, for example, no soap in my Fantang. Yeah, like make sure that you have soap. They do give us the sanitizers, but it's not the same. Like you really need some time to feel fresh and clean. What else? Oh yeah, for sure, the eye mask and the earplugs. This is like something that you cannot live without. And they actually gave us the eye mask and the earplugs, but more like towards the end of the stay. And you would like, they did not give it us out. You would have to go and ask. So there's, you know, those kind of things like that you kind of have to think or know, but yeah, it's better always to have them. And then whatever distracts your brain, you know, whether it's a book, a game, movie, TV shows, it's like a good opportunity to watch all of those TV shows that you wanted to watch before. I don't know, drawing, talking to people, dancing. There were a lot of old Chinese ladies dancing in the evening. There were some people trying to work, but I could not manage, and the Wi-Fi did not work. So depends. Yeah, and also for girls, yeah, there were no Wi-Fi, of course. And for girls, you know, just also remember, you know, shampoos and all of those other products that we need every month. Make sure that you have like enough of all of those things.
Mm.
You were not able to shower there, were you? Just
Yeah, no showers. We had like that water basket, you know, the one that usually is used for laundries or I don't know, clean vegetables, whatever. So we had that, and then we had a towel. So basically what we're doing is like just take we had access to warm water, which was drinking water, but people used it also like for shower and laundry. So just put some warm water, put the towel, like wet the towel, and then just like rub yourself to kind of have that feeling of shower. That was the only way.
Wow, that's rough. You mentioned that there was a lot of IEs dancing. Were you able to make friends with these IEs? Did you make any friends at the center?
Yeah, I met friends, but not with those IEs. Like, I would say that we were kind of like people were making friends among the people who were they surrounded with. We had different blocks. It's like, you know, Shanghai is divided in districts. We also had like those kind of districts, blocks. We have 24 blocks, 150 approximately, 150 beds per block. And also we were divided into like one, like, for example, few rows, female section, next few rows is male section. So it was not mixed. So I was surrounded by women, by girls, and they were basically the ones who I was talking to. And especially by the end, towards the end of our stay, there were like less and less people staying, and specifically the ones who stayed, and me and them, we have like a very similar pattern of the COVID test results. Sounds weird, I know, but like because we had 8 during this 19 days, we had 8 tests, so it was like negative, negative, positive, negative, like sometimes, and then positive again, and then negative again. That happened a lot to people, and so we were basically those people who like we had similar COVID test results. We were friends, and that's why we were like kind of making groups. Like I called them my crew, and then we would go and argue to this medical staff, this nurse, this doctor about our case. So we were like trying to push through our case all together, and then of course talking about this, discussing. My roommate, she's the best because she was helping me to, although everything was in Chinese, and I mean I speak Chinese, but there's like still a lot of things that you don't understand, like what exactly that means. So she was the one who was like actually explaining me, like putting it into more plain Chinese, and I'm super grateful for that. And we're planning to meet, you know, once Shanghai is out, we're planning to have a coffee together. So yeah, people were very, very nice, and that was like kind of the positive thing about the whole experience.
They say June 1st. June 1st is when they're going to let us out. You might be getting that coffee soon.
I'm really looking forward.
What about the volunteers? Did you make any friends with any volunteers working there?
Yeah, actually one of the again, the girl who was within our district, she helped me once a lot to postpone the time for my COVID test results because like of because I just needed that. So yeah, she was one more now I remember. Yeah, volunteers were very, you know, very active. They were like, yes, we can do it, and they were also the ones who had most of the information. They also like helped with arguing and fighting with the med stuff. So yeah, I really appreciate them being there and their job.
Yeah. So what was it like then returning back home? Was the community welcoming? Was there a bit of paranoia? What was that like?
To be honest, I was very, very scared that they will not let me back home. Like again, it's important to just say again that it's like everything is so unclear. Basically, every single day, every single step that you have in there, you just like, you don't know, you never know when you're gonna get home. For example, after even when I had 2 negative tests in a row, it still took them like 1 week to bring me home and to organize everything. So I was like, and there were a lot of rumors that we will not be allowed to get home because the committee will not allow us, and like just so much information that you don't know what is true, what is right, what is wrong. So you just like see as it goes. So my committee, I mean, I was dropped, kind of like we were allowed to be dropped very close to our compound, but I asked like the bus driver to drop me out. Like I just said, this is my home, my house. Nobody checks the address. So I was able to get out like 2 kilometers away from my house, and I just really wanted to walk a little bit around, feel the fresh air, see some in like nice scenes. And when I got to my compound, my baoan was like, "Hey, who are you? Blah, blah. Show me your code. Show me your test results." All like they overpassed 48 hours. Like you don't need 48 hours. Then I showed him the paper that I'm released, and he was like, "There's no stamp." I mean, what can I do? They gave me that kind of paper. Like I don't have any other paper. So yeah, it took some arguing with my baoan, and then he called our community committee, and then they were like, okay, let her in. And I got in, and only when I got into my apartment, I was like, okay, mission completed.
Safe. And you must be on like the community building group chat and stuff, like where people like, welcome back, nice to have you back home, or you know.
The thing is that I never, like, I didn't know anyone within our compound, only our downstairs neighbor, who definitely hated us during this whole experience. Before, actually, he was nice person on earth. He always helped us. He was super kind. But then when we got COVID, he just like really, and I think still he treats us as we are, I don't know, HIV positive or something like that. Like
so sorry.
So people in the compound, they didn't tell me anything, and I was just added into the group chat only when I got back from the Fanfang. I was not even in the group chat after that. Before that, and I mean, I was just normal, fine. And right now, pretty much like people that I'm walking around here in our compounds, they're fine. They don't seem to care, like be disgusted by me too much.
Man, I can't imagine like the stress going through that quarantine camp. And you say you're from Ukraine, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just the stuff going on back home. How are things back home? How's your family?
My family is all right. They're in Ukraine, but unfortunately they're quite close to the front line. The city is called Zaporizhia. Right now, most of the Zaporizhia region is under Russian soldiers. They cannot even call them soldiers. My family are holding up, and they decided that they're not going to leave. They don't want to leave. They actually keep working. They're trying to, by working, they're keeping the economy going. And my father, he's a doctor, for example. So he is actually the one who helps people and a lot of kids. He is a kids doctor. A lot of kids who's injured are actually going through his hospital and through his hands. My parents are holding up, and we all believe in Ukraine's victory. There's no other way.
It's difficult, so we're all here support
Definitely.
from all of us.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Has your family tried to like move away for safety, move somewhere else for safety?
No, they don't want, because they say that it's their home. Why they should leave? And I mean, they're like, if the situation will get like really, 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 really bad, then they say that they promised me that they're going to evacuate. For now, I mean, there's no safe place in Ukraine right now because Russians shelling bombs everywhere, whether it's Western Ukraine, whether it's Kiev, Odessa, Kharkiv, doesn't matter. So it's you never know, but they just made that kind of decision that I have to respect, and I understand them in a way.
Yeah.
What can people do to help spread awareness to this issue?
I think the very least, what any person in the world can do, just keep talking about this, just being interested in this topic, sharing news. Then there's a lot of initiatives where you can support people, either the army, humanitarian help, children, women, maybe host a Ukrainian family if you can, kids in your hometown. I think that's like the basic things, informational support, and then whatever you can do to support us, either with your whatever you can do, or financial. That is very, very, very much appreciated.
Yeah, I know that your Instagram page is quite informative in that manner. You do post quite a lot about about the COVID situation, and also about the situation in Ukraine. Like we were talking the other day on Instagram, and I saw there were quite a lot of posts there. So definitely, Joe, please put it down there as well for the others to see. Rest of you guys can also check out her Instagram page for some more information about the whole lockdown and Ukraine situation. Thank you. There we go. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Shall we turn the questions to the audience?
Yeah, let's get the Q&A.
Sure.
Yeah.
So our producer should have found some great questions. Was there mental aid there? Anybody to help support? Yeah.
That's a very good question. No, I think there was nothing like that. If I don't know, sleeping pills, can sleeping pills count as mental aid? I mean, I would say kind of yes. because that was like kind of the only, I would say, mental aid that I got. But at some point I really could not sleep. The last days were the very hard ones, because it was just like accumulating this not being able to sleep, not being able to have like this quiet place, not being able to see the darkness in front of you. So I really could not sleep. And one of the volunteers, actually, she told me that I can get a sleeping pill from the nurse, and I did, and that helped me. But then other than that, there's nothing else. And I think this is the biggest problem of this Fangtang. Not only the shower, actually physical conditions, you can get used to them, but the mental part of it, that was the most challenging. And I think this is the very important, I don't know, for those creators of the Fangtang, think about and have in mind like how they make all these people think, all these people being there, like holding up. And I'm talking not only from a foreigner's perspective, but some people might think that we're just like spoiled foreigners here in China. But I just saw a lot of Chinese people, of course, struggling as well, because it's not a normal situation. There were, a lot of women breaking down. There was a teenage girl who was crying all the time. She could not eat. It's super stressful situation. And we just can't stress enough how important it's to keep our mental health and, be cautious about that.
Yeah.
Sleeping pills, though, that's a new one. I did not expect that they would have that. Okay, we have another one here. Looks like zero privacy. Did you see others getting upset, and did it have a knock-on effect to others in there?
I think, to be honest, that I think that the privacy part is something that just in general, it's not very much in focus in China. People don't care about it as much as somewhere else. So I feel like that was maybe not for people in there was not the worst part of it. If I see people upset, yeah, for sure. There were like, for sure, a lot of people were, I think it was not even about being upset. It's about being angry, being frustrated, being just confused about what's going to happen next. And I see a very similar question here. So just like trying to also wrap up that one, like about people being anxious and lose their sanity. I would say that by the day 10, like we all got there pretty much at the same time. And then by day 10, when like people see that, we've done already like 4 or 5, whatever COVID tests, nothing happens, even some of the people were had all of their negative tests. Some of the people had like negative, positive, negative, negative, positive. I had like that, for example. So people were like really building up this frustration, and that all resulted in a lot of shouting on the mad stuff. Actually, never seen Chinese people being that rebellious and being that, protesting about what's happening around, which I was like, yeah, this is happy to see people are, just talking, but they're not happy about it and not satisfied about that. And that definitely affected, that had like an effect that one person gets frustrated and then another one too. And at some point, I would say like on day 14, it was like a collective anxiety. Like, I feel like I was trying to really keep it calm, but then just seeing this reaction and just seeing people and hearing those shoutings all the time, because people were just like arguing for their rights, for their basic human rights to be released from there. That was all building up and affecting all of us, and being not feeling normal. A lot of, for example, specifically, I noticed that some of the old ladies, for them, I think it was quite difficult to take the situation. And some of because I was surrounded by women, and some of them, when they will find out that they're positive again, they will be crying. They will they will be in their tears, because they will they will be desperate. They don't know, how you get out of this vicious cycle of being negative, and there was no trust towards this testing system, and in general towards this whole thing.
So you said that you and your crew, you guys would have these arguments with the workers. Was there any ever like progress? Like because you guys raised your voice, did anything get done?
No, I think hard to say. I would say that every time when we were, telling them like, hey, we have this amount of negative COVID tests, we're good to go. Like they would say like, okay, we will talk to the doctors. We don't get to decide anything. We will put you on the list. They would like start, they would take a paper, the actual paper, although they had a computer. They would take a paper, write down our names, write down our bed numbers, and they would be like, okay, we will pass this list to the doctors. And then apparently the doctors, some doctors above, who were not even in our Fanfang, in our shelter, they were the ones responsible for for releasing people. So it was not only about two negative tests, it was also about our temperature, although by the end they did not even like measure our temperature. It was about the symptoms, it was about a lot of those different complex things. So I mean, I understand that we're trying also maybe to remove their responsibility from this whole thing, but I would say that was not really progress. And then when the time has come, when those people who had like that many, like a lot of COVID tests, negative COVID tests, and like 3, 4, 2, like I had 2 or 3, the last 3 negative tests in a row were negative. So then we were allowed to leave. So we were just basically waiting for our time to come, waiting in this like long waiting list to be released. And at some point our time has come and we were released, luckily.
Must be so tough, Jane.
Yeah,
thank you so much for sharing your experiences, and thank you for being so vulnerable, Jane.
Yeah.
I mean, thanks for hearing out my story, and I hope it's gonna just trying to share facts to show how it really is, and just let people see how how it is, that there's nothing to hide, and just hope that it's gonna help other people to go through this. Hopefully no one will get there.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jane, for today. Really, really appreciate it. And that was super informative. I feel like I learned quite a lot as well about, the way. And I'm pretty sure over the span of the month as well, they did kind of like trial and error things as well and change things to kind of maybe have better organization or whatever. Not, I mean, who knows? But yeah, it's really, really lovely of you to share that with
I
us.
hope so too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jane. Have a good day.
Thank you, Jane. Guys, again, producer Joe, maybe you can toss in her Instagram handle one more time. Again, thank you for participating in another Lockdown Live. You guys are great. Thank you so much for being so active in the chats.
And again, for your consistency, for consistently popping up and showing up and being there. We really, really appreciate it. And I really hope you guys have been enjoying this time with us. And yeah, definitely stay tuned for the next episodes.
Yeah. Follow, like, subscribe, listen to the podcasts.